If you think you've seen horror shows before, this show is unlike anything you have ever seen.
In case you pass out, that's tough.
We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science.
Coming off the success of 1931's Dracula, Universal immediately jumped into production of their next big horror film. Frankenstein would hit theaters in November of the same year, and they really went all out on this one. Dracula was like the appetizer, but Frankenstein's the real deal. They really wanted to get those 30s audiences. It even starts with a warning that you're going to see something really scary.
It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now is your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Yeah, Universal's not fucking around. They don't even credit an actor for the monster in the opening credits because, of course, this is all real. It's great. A creepy cemetery and elaborate laboratory set the stage, along with the iconic windmill set piece. You can really see the German expressionist influence. Just look at the design in these shots. Shadows are long and the backgrounds are twisted and warped. It's all on a much larger scale than Dracula. Just look at the size of Fritz the Hunchback in this massive castle set. The movie wastes no time at all. There's no backstory or prologue or anything. When we start out, Dr. Frankenstein's experiments are well underway. He wants to create life using dead tissue. But of course, he gets more than he bargained for when he mistakenly gives his creation a criminal's brain. After the monster kills his assistant, Frankenstein immediately regrets his actions and eventually must face his rampaging creation head on. Colin Clive does a great job as Dr. Frankenstein. He's obsessed with his work, yet also tortured by it. He has such great line delivery, and his expressions are so intense, perfect for any mad scientist.
Crazy, am I? We'll see whether I'm crazy or not.
That takes us to the main attraction here. Boris Karloff steals the show as the monster. The movie does a good job not showing you his face right away and waits just long enough for one hell of an entrance. Everything about this portrayal makes Frankenstein's creation quite possibly the most iconic movie monster of all time. His massive frame and blank stare make for an intimidating character, and Karloff does so much with only body movements and various grunts. There is never a time where you're unsure what the monster is thinking. Jack Pierce did a legendary makeup job. It looked great then, and it still looks great almost 100 years later. This single version of the monster has stood the test of time among any other version of the character. Ask anyone what he looks like, and they'll probably mention that square-like head, the stitches, or the bolts on his neck. Nothing has topped this since. Truly the definition of something that has stood the test of time. But the monster is more than just a monster. There is humanity to him. There are emotions. He's not just some killing machine. Sure, he catches a few bodies when he first comes to life, but that's not what he's all about. The monster is confused and angry, and Fritz's treatment of him didn't help much either. The famous scene with the little girl is probably the best part of the movie. It's beautiful because you see the monster's humanity. He gets to have a peaceful moment where he's accepted by someone that doesn't see him as a monster.
I'm Maria. Will you play with me?
However, it's also the most unsettling scene in the whole movie because it just gives off this eerie feeling that something's gonna go terribly wrong. Things just seem too nice for a second. And just when you remember this is a horror movie is about the same time the monster unintentionally drowns the child. But again, he's not just a killer. You can see on his face that he knows he did something terrible and he didn't mean to. Frankenstein's monster is a sympathetic character, more so than any other Universal monster. He didn't ask for any of this. To juxtapose this scene, it immediately cuts to a town celebration. Everyone is having a party, not knowing that a child murder just took place. The party is cut short when the father silently carries her corpse into the town square. This is the most well-done sequence in the movie, and Universal was really onto something this time. Frankenstein is a must-see movie for any horror fan, and has had a huge impact on horror history. As an early sound film, it has the same eerie silence that Dracula has, giving it a slight creepy factor. It's filled with iconic pieces that have become pop culture staples almost a century later, such as Frankenstein having a hunchback assistant, a mob of torches, and of course, very famous quotes.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
The movie is pretty fast-paced as well, so it doesn't ever feel like it drags, and it ends in a fiery finale. It takes what Dracula established and ran with it, making everything bigger and better. Frankenstein is the definitive Universal monster movie, a true classic and a damn good movie. Both the monster and Dracula have since become two of the most famous horror characters ever and had a huge impact on film history. Little did Universal know that these two films would kick off a horror legacy spanning decades worth of classics. But that's a story for another time.
In the name of God, now I know what it feels like to be God.
Pleasant nightmares, friends. Good midnight to you.